If you're new to cruising, or if you've been lucky enough to enjoy peaceful sailings, you'd probably never imagine the kinds of things in this video could actually happen on your next cruise. But unfortunately, they do. And sometimes it's even worse. Recently, a number of chaotic incidents have broken out on board cruise ships, especially those operated by Carnival. For that reason, Carnival Cruise Line, the self-proclaimed fun ship brand at the center of many of these controversies, has tightened its have fun, be safe rules. However, this new set of rules has sparked endless debate within communities and across social media. Some passengers cheer the changes, saying they'll make cruising more enjoyable. Others argue they unfairly target certain groups, particularly black cruisers, who feel the new rules are part of a wider pattern of stereotyping and discrimination. So, are these rules common sense, or are they a step too far? Let's find out on today's episode of Cruise Now. But before we dive into the main topic, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to help me reach my first milestone of 5,000 subscribers, and like if you find the video useful. It really means a lot and gives me the motivation to keep improving both the content and video editing. Thank you so much. Just a few weeks ago, a letter began circulating on social media outlining Carnival's updated have fun, be safe guidelines. These rules remind passengers to show care and respect for others, while also detailing policies around curfews and smoking. But what has sparked the loudest backlash is the unexpected ban on personal items like handheld clack fans and Bluetooth speakers, things many guests considered harmless. To be honest, when you look at the sudden changes in context, they're not really surprising. Carnival has faced wave after wave of chaos on board its ships in recent months, and the company seems determined to tighten the reins. For those who may not remember, let's revisit just a few examples. In June, a violent brawl broke out on board the Carnival Sunrise, capturing headlines after passengers involved were permanently banned from cruising. Only 2 months earlier, in April, 24 passengers received lifetime bans following another large altercation, this time at the Galveston Cruise Terminal. According to U.S. Department of Transportation data, Carnival has actually led all cruise lines in reported crime rates for an incredible 33 consecutive months. And the incidents don't stop at fights. Smuggling alcohol onto ships has practically become a sport for some passengers, with countless hacks openly shared online. Videos even show travelers bragging about sneaking booze on board. Of course, flaunting these tricks in public practically begs Carnival to crack down harder. Another recent viral clip featured a frustrated woman shouting at the guest services desk, furious about problems with her cabin.
They already gave you, so if they gave you nothing, that is what you're gonna get.
Her yelling may have felt justified in the moment, but Carnival isn't in the business of rewarding disruptive behavior. Like it or not, if you don't spend money with the cruise line, they're unlikely to bend over backwards for you. And if you push too far, the outcome is usually the same. A permanent ban. The fights, the rule breaking, the shouting matches, these are part of the story. But what has fueled even more controversy is the perception of who gets caught up in these incidents. Many of the viral fights on Carnival ships have involved black passengers. At the same time, the cruise line's new guidelines ban items like Bluetooth speakers and clack fans, accessories that hold cultural popularity within certain communities. Clack fans, for example, are handheld folding fans that became widely recognized within the black community thanks to the line dance Boots on the Ground, Where Them Fans At, by 803 Fresh, which incorporates the fan as part of the routine. To some passengers, banning these items feels like more than just a rule. It feels personal. Adding to that sentiment, several guests have noticed a shift in the onboard music. One traveler shared on Reddit after disembarking from Carnival Paradise in Tampa. They played zero rap or hip-hop songs. They literally played Party in the USA inside the nightclub. There was barely anyone inside because the music selection was so horrible. For passengers who expect Carnival's lively party atmosphere, especially with hip-hop as the soundtrack, the change feels significant. As a result, some black cruisers have expressed feeling targeted. On TikTok, creator at Kiara Jackson explained she canceled her Carnival sailing, saying the line seemed to be going through a rebrand. She admitted that hip-hop music and clack fans were the main reasons she enjoyed Carnival in the first place. Still, not everyone sees it that way. Some passengers defend Carnival's new approach, arguing that the rules are simply about preventing chaos, regardless of race. And that's true. Rowdy behavior can come from anyone, no matter their background. As for the question of not playing rap music, Carnival has not issued any official statement about whether rap or hip-hop is being played less on board. However, a Carnival spokesperson confirmed that there are now expanded theme nights in the nightclub. A video shared by a Carnival DJ shows guests dancing to Boots on the Ground. Even so, many black passengers still feel they are being targeted and have criticized Carnival harshly. In response, many black passengers have also spoken out in defense of Carnival, clearly calling out inappropriate passenger behavior and saying they're glad to see disruptive guests finally being held accountable. For them, the new rules aren't about limiting freedom, but about preserving safety, respect, and fairness for everyone on board. Cruise ships are unlike any other vacation space. They aren't just hotels at sea, they are floating communities where thousands of strangers live together in tight quarters for days or even weeks. That means small acts can have a big impact. One passenger blasting music on a speaker can ruin the peace for hundreds of others. A group of teens running down hallways at midnight can keep families with young kids awake. In such a confined space, one person's fun often comes at the expense of someone else's relaxation. From Carnival's perspective, rules are a necessity. Parents want their children to sleep without being disturbed. Older travelers want to hear important safety announcements without competing noise. And all passengers expect to feel secure during a vacation they've spent thousands of dollars to enjoy. Order, structure, and a sense of shared responsibility are essential to making the experience enjoyable for everyone. But from a cultural perspective, the debate is more complicated. Certain activities, playing loud music, staying up late, or dancing with hand fans, are often associated with black communities. When rules target these behaviors, even unintentionally, enforcement can feel discriminatory. To some, it's not just about curbing noise or disruption. It feels like erasing culture and policing joy. This is why the controversy has become so charged. It's not just about maintaining order, but about respecting cultural expression in shared spaces. For Carnival, the stakes are high. Black travelers make up a significant portion of today's cruise market, and their influence is amplified on platforms like TikTok, where stories of unfair treatment can spread rapidly. If Carnival is perceived as ignoring these concerns, the company risks alienating an important customer base at a time when cruise lines are working hard to expand inclusivity and attract younger, more diverse travelers. Ultimately, this debate goes beyond Carnival. It raises a broader question about how we balance community and individuality in spaces we all share. Everyone deserves to feel safe and respected, but so too does everyone deserve the freedom to express themselves. So what do you think? Are these rules fair and necessary, or do they go too far? Today, we're breaking down a shocking incident that happened on a cruise ship, where a heated argument ended in a knockout punch. But the real problem isn't just the fight. The video begins in the middle of a cruise ride. Passengers are seated and suddenly two men start shouting at each other. One is standing, chest out, refusing to back down. The other is firing insults, pointing fingers, and making the atmosphere increasingly hostile. Around them, instead of people trying to calm things down, phones come out. People start recording. Some even encourage the argument. So what's the fight about? From what we hear, it's the usual nonsense. Where someone is from, personal jabs, even comments about relationships. In other words, nothing that should ever matter on a cruise ride. But ego gets involved. Pride takes over. Instead of walking away, both men dig in. To make things worse, a few women nearby flip middle fingers, laugh, or even shove lightly at one of the men, escalating the tension further. This is a textbook example of social reinforcement, when people act out because they have an audience. And instead of de-escalating, the group around them adds fuel to the fire. Then comes the breaking point. One man throws a single punch, the other drops instantly, knocked out cold. Think about how dangerous that is. One fall could mean a concussion, a cracked skull, or worse. Many viewers watched the video and shrugged, thinking, here we go again, black passengers causing trouble on Carnival ships. Yes, but let's set the fight itself aside for now. Because whether the black man was right or wrong, the more serious issue here is the attitude of the surrounding passengers who witnessed the incident. This is not about black or white, because every single passenger observing the scene displayed the exact same kind of behavior. Instead of rushing to help the man who just got knocked out, many passengers laugh, point, or keep filming. They giggle. They make jokes. This isn't entertainment. This is a human life. And that's what I mean by ghetto behavior. Not the people, not the race, but the choices. when you laugh at violence instead of helping, when you cheer on chaos instead of calming it down, that is low-class, ghetto behavior. It doesn't belong on a train or anywhere else. Let's pause here for clarity, because words matter. When I say ghetto behavior, I'm not talking about black people, or white people, or any group of people. I'm talking about the actions, screaming insults in public, filming someone's worst moment instead of helping, turning a shared space into a circus. That behavior is selfish, disruptive, and dangerous. It drags everyone down to the lowest common denominator. A train ride is supposed to be safe and uneventful. When it turns into a fight club, everyone loses. So why do we see this pattern over and over on planes, on ships? A few reasons. Stress is one. People travel tired, impatient, maybe intoxicated, and it doesn't take much to spark a confrontation. Another is ego. Nobody wants to look weak in front of a crowd. And then there's the social media factor. The second phones come out, people feel like they're on stage. They perform. They get louder, nastier, more aggressive, because they know they're being filmed. It's a toxic cocktail that makes situations explode instead of calming down. Here's the harsh truth. One reckless moment can change everything. That knockout punch, it could lead to an arrest, a permanent record, even a lawsuit. For the guy on the ground, it could mean long-term injury or trauma. For the bystanders, it creates an unsafe environment where anyone could be dragged into the chaos. And for the train operator and transit system, it's another viral headline that damages public trust. Was it worth it? Of course not. So what do we do about it? First, as individuals, we have to learn when to walk away. Not every insult needs a response. Not every stare is worth a fight. Second, if you're with friends, don't hype them up. Pull them back. Real friends de-escalate. And third, for public transit, there has to be a better security presence. Just knowing there's accountability on board can prevent these things from escalating. However, the biggest change must come from us, the passengers. Public space means shared space. Respecting that is non-negotiable. On top of that, cruise lines, especially Carnival, which is notorious for multiple onboard fights, have already introduced rules to help reduce brawls at sea. However, instead of agreeing with these rules, some black passengers felt they were being singled out and treated unfairly.
Carnival does not have to worry about me. They do not have to worry about me. We got the message loud and clear. We are not your demographic anymore. So y'all, I was supposed to be going on a Carnival cruise. So one of my friends is turning 30 and he's never been on a cruise. He doesn't have a passport, so do not suggest flying somewhere. So he's never been on a cruise and he was like, it's my dirty 30. I want to be on a turns up ship. He'd be seeing all the videos of Carnival. He was like, I want to do that because I'm trying to be lit for my birthday, right?
But is that really the case? Let's hear directly from black passengers themselves on this matter.
They fucking sick of y'all. And before y'all get on here talking about oh, they racist, they hate black people. No, they hate niggas. That's what they hate. I hate them too. They hate niggas. That's exactly what it is. And y'all don't know how to handle yourselves. Y'all get on here, get drunk, get to fighting, being disruptive, disturbing all the other passengers. That's all it is. Like, y'all act like y'all have no fucking home training. Like, everywhere don't have to be a party. Some people pay for this shit just to simply relax.
Now, y'all know damn well Carnival Cruise is not racist. Like, what y'all talking about? Like, what are you talking about? It's not a black people issue. It's the ratchet, igga shit. And we know that already. And I'm from the hood, born and raised again, Southside Chicago, Inglewood, right? And when you in the hood, you see large groups of igga shit, dumb ratchet shit, you go the other way. Because what's going to happen? Somebody going to get shot. Caliber of ratchet, ignorant motherfuckers that's getting on that Carnival Cruise is the same caliber of motherfuckers that was out here scamming for that PPP loan. Just stupid. They not used to shit. They don't have no fucking home training. They not able to conduct themselves. They just ignorant, right? And Carnival Cruise not wrong for putting rules in place because you're fucking up their business.
So, where did the rumor of Carnival Cruise Line being racist actually come from? The uproar began when Carnival announced that large Bluetooth speakers would no longer be allowed on board. Around the same time, videos started circulating online showing Carnival nightclub guests claiming that DJs refused to play rap music. Instead, other genres were played, leaving the dance floor almost empty. This only fueled the rumor further. Was Carnival secretly banning rap and hip-hop? Carnival denied this, saying they feature a variety of music, but the perception remains, and many have started calling it cultural discrimination. Now, about the rap music debate. Carnival insists it has not banned hip-hop or rap, and in fact, still features it during nightclub theme nights. However, several passengers have reported being told by DJs that they couldn't play rap. Why? Some believe it's because rap lyrics often include explicit or aggressive content, which Carnival feels doesn't fit the family vacation vibe. Others see it as a coded way to push out a certain audience. This is where things get complicated. The line between behavior-based rules and culturally targeted rules can get very blurry. Critics argue that many of these rules, especially around music and nightlife, disproportionately affect black culture and younger passengers. That makes them feel singled out, even if the rules are not explicitly racial. On the flip side, defenders argue that Carnival is simply protecting its business. If families, older travelers, and higher-paying guests avoid the cruise because they don't want to deal with party chaos, then Carnival loses money. In fact, Carnival's profits have been surging since enforcing these rules, suggesting that many travelers prefer a calmer, more controlled environment. This debate taps into a larger question. What should a cruise vacation feel like? Should it be a floating nightclub where anything goes? Or should it be a family-friendly getaway where order is enforced? Ultimately, this isn't just about music. It's about what kind of community you create on board a cruise ship. With thousands of people sharing the same space, one person's idea of fun can be another person's nightmare. Carnival has decided that order and family comfort come first, even if that sparks accusations of discrimination. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Carnival is being reasonable? Or are these rules crossing the line into unfair targeting? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Fights, violence, assaults, and disruptive behavior have been on the rise, forcing Carnival Cruise Line to tighten law enforcement measures, as if declaring they've had enough. However, this has sparked backlash from some black passengers, leading them to cancel bookings or call for a complete boycott, arguing that the new policies unfairly target their community. Well, this is nothing more than a way of resisting the rules without any reasonable basis to stand on. What? Just because she didn't want to follow these policies, she decided not to sail with Carnival, but switched to another ship instead, thinking she could get away with it. How ridiculous is that? But why do such misguided attitudes still exist? And why has Carnival now become a magnet for so many rude and unruly passengers? The bigger question is, can the cruise line ever change the notorious reputation it has built for itself in the cruise industry? Let's find out in today's episode of Cruise Now. All passengers who choose to vacation at sea share the same expectation. They want to enjoy moments of relaxation after long, stressful days in the city. Naturally, this includes black passengers as well, many of whom are law-abiding, educated, and simply want to make their holiday as perfect as possible. So why then have so many brawls broken out on Carnival ships? And why have even minor policy changes from the company struck such a nerve with certain customers to the point where they feel singled out, as if their joy and freedom were being restricted? To be honest, bad behavior is not exclusive to any one group. Disruptive acts can occur among passengers of all backgrounds on any cruise line. However, recent incidents of fighting and disorder have appeared more frequently within certain smaller groups of travelers. By coincidence, or perhaps not, the majority of these cases have involved younger black passengers. These individuals often carry the mindset that purchasing a ticket gives them the right to behave however they wish, drinking excessively, being loud in public spaces, or disregarding established rules of courtesy and safety. This sense of entitlement erodes the special atmosphere that cruise vacations use to embody. For decades, ships were seen as orderly, relaxing escapes. Today, many seasoned cruisers feel alienated by environments that no longer resemble the refined experiences they once cherished. Think of it this way: the higher the price of an experience, the greater the responsibility placed on the customer to maintain certain standards. Dining offers the clearest example. At a fast food restaurant, guests may order casually, act informally, and expect minimal structure. But in a 5-star establishment, the chef determines the flow of the meal, and diners are expected to respect that structure as part of the value they are paying for. A luxury cruise should work in the same way. It isn't simply about selling tickets for profit. It's about curating and preserving an atmosphere of elegance, exclusivity, and respect. Ticket prices in this context function as a natural filter. Higher fares tend to discourage those less inclined to follow the expected norms of behavior. Cruising's appeal once depended on striking a balance between affordability and decorum. When access was more limited and standards were more strictly enforced, the sense of exclusivity defined the experience. But as ships became larger, fares dropped and the rules relaxed. That exclusivity began to erode. Carnival, in particular, leaned heavily into accessibility, positioning itself as the fun ship for the masses. From a business standpoint, this strategy worked brilliantly. The company reached a far wider customer base and became one of the biggest names in the industry. Yet this success came with unintended consequences. The very accessibility that drew millions of new passengers also diluted the cruise experience. With lower entry costs and looser standards, the environment shifted from one of refined leisure to one where disruptive or inconsiderate behavior became more common. Carnival may have won in terms of volume, but it has paid the price in terms of quality. For longtime cruisers, the atmosphere no longer carries the same prestige or tranquility. To be honest, when we look at the scandals that have taken place on Carnival ships, it becomes clear that promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion is a mistake if it means lowering behavioral expectations just to make things more accommodating. Accessibility, while positive in some respects, has at times become a weakness, diminishing the sense of class and civility that once defined the cruise experience. That is why, when Carnival introduced some fairly ordinary rule changes designed to uphold certain standards on its voyages, it felt like a disruption to the bad habits passengers had been allowed to practice for far too long. In response, some accused the cruise line of racism, but in reality, this is more a matter of personal responsibility and the preservation of exclusivity, something Carnival had built into its brand from the very beginning. From here, we can also identify the key factors that caused Carnival to attract so many poorly behaved passengers in the first place, ultimately damaging the company's reputation. 1. Lowest fares among major cruise lines. Carnival's biggest selling point is price, and that's exactly why it attracts such a wide variety of passengers. Compared to Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, or Virgin, Carnival's fares are often hundreds of dollars cheaper, especially on short sailings. While this makes cruising more accessible to families on a budget or first-time travelers, it also means the line appeals to people who may not be as invested in protecting the quality of the experience. Frequent cruisers know that when you pay more, you generally get a more refined atmosphere, because higher prices naturally filter the type of crowd on board. Carnival's affordability, while a strength for volume, sometimes works against it by drawing guests who view the trip less as a luxury escape and more as a cheap party. That shift in mindset directly impacts the onboard culture, and it's one of the most important reasons misbehavior is more common there. 2. Party-oriented branding. From its earliest days, Carnival has sold itself as the fun ships, and that branding has stuck. Everything from its commercials to its onboard events emphasizes energy, excitement, and nightlife. For many travelers, this is a huge draw. It feels more relaxed and playful than cruise lines that highlight formality or sophistication. But for frequent cruisers, this focus comes with a trade-off. It attracts people whose main goal is to party hard. Rather than treating the cruise as a balanced mix of relaxation, culture, and entertainment, many guests approach Carnival as an excuse to drink excessively, dance loudly, and push the limits of acceptable behavior. 3. Short itineraries from U.S. ports. Carnival's route structure is another key reason it attracts rowdier behavior. Unlike many premium lines that emphasize longer sailings, Carnival offers countless 3- and 4-day cruises out of convenient U.S. ports like Miami, Galveston, and New Orleans. These short trips are extremely appealing to groups of young adults, bachelor and bachelorette parties, and budget vacationers who want a quick getaway without taking much time off work. The low cost and short duration encourage a go-all-out mentality, since passengers feel like they have to cram maximum fun into just a few days. Compared to longer itineraries, which naturally attract older and more experienced cruisers, these short Carnival trips almost guarantee a higher chance of disruptive crowds. 4. Alcohol promotions and packages. Carnival has some of the most accessible alcohol options in the cruise industry, and while that's a perk for many, it's also a recipe for trouble. It's Cheers. The drink package is among the cheapest at sea, and the cruise line runs frequent promotions on beer buckets, cocktails, and daily drink specials. This affordability encourages heavy drinking from early in the day until late at night, especially around the pool deck and at themed parties. The more alcohol flows, the more likely arguments, accidents, or even fights become. While enjoying cocktails is part of the fun for many, Carnival's emphasis on cheap and plentiful alcohol creates an environment where overindulgence is common, fueling the misbehavior that has earned the line its party cruise reputation. 5. Mass market size and volume. Carnival operates one of the largest fleets in the world, carrying millions of passengers every year. With that kind of volume, even a small percentage of troublemakers becomes a noticeable issue. Frequent cruisers understand that more passengers equals more variability in behavior, and Carnival's massive ships often feel like floating cities with thousands of people packed into common spaces. By contrast, smaller or more premium cruise lines naturally limit the number of guests on board, creating a calmer environment. On Carnival, the scale magnifies everything. Pool deck parties feel more crowded, hallways get congested, and incidents are more likely to be filmed and shared online. This sheer size and exposure contribute to Carnival's reputation, even if most passengers behave well. For regular cruisers who value peace and comfort, the sheer density of people on Carnival ships can make misbehavior far more visible and harder to avoid compared to other cruise experiences. 6. Perception of a less formal culture. Carnival has deliberately built its identity as the most casual of the major cruise lines, which attracts a very different type of passenger. Unlike Cunard or even Royal Caribbean, where formal nights and dress codes still hold weight, Carnival is far more relaxed. There are fewer rules about attire, quieter enforcement of decorum, and a general message that anything goes. While this can feel liberating for some travelers, it also encourages certain passengers to push boundaries. For example, passengers may walk into dining rooms in swimwear or barefoot, an act that would never fly on premium lines. In public spaces, loud music, hallway games, and even drunken arguments often go unchecked longer than on other ships. The cruise line's laid-back image is attractive to people who don't want the polished experience, but that same culture inadvertently draws those who feel free to behave in disruptive ways that seasoned cruisers find exhausting. 7. Repeat reputation cycle. Finally, Carnival's reputation feeds itself in a repeating cycle. Viral videos of fistfights in the buffet line or passengers doing dangerous stunts like backflips off balconies spread quickly on TikTok and YouTube, reinforcing the idea that Carnival is the party cruise brand. This perception then attracts more people who want to be part of that rowdy scene, essentially treating a cruise as a floating nightclub. As a result, thrill seekers and people drawn to drama specifically choose Carnival because they've seen this behavior online and expect a permissive environment. Unfortunately, this cycle continues to discourage seasoned cruisers who want a more refined trip, while drawing in those more interested in the spectacle, ensuring the reputation is hard to shake. Yes, those are the core factors that have shaped Carnival Cruise Line as it is today. But the question now is, with these new rules in place and the company willing to lose a segment of its customers, can Carnival Cruises ever return to the peaceful experience they once were? For years, Carnival has carried the reputation of being the party cruise line, a label reinforced by viral videos of fights, drunken antics, and passengers openly flouting the rules. That image didn't appear overnight, and it won't disappear quickly either. Still, Carnival's recent move to tighten regulations could mark the start of a turning point. The cruise line has introduced lifetime bans for violent passengers, ramped up onboard security presence, and begun stricter enforcement of alcohol and contraband rules. These steps send a clear message. Disruptive behavior will no longer be brushed aside as part of the fun. Frequent cruisers have already noticed more security patrols around hotspots like nightclubs and pool decks, signaling a shift toward accountability. Will these changes erase the bad reputation completely? Probably not. Carnival's low fares and fun ship branding will continue to attract a lively, sometimes unruly crowd. But if enforcement is consistent, and if new viral stories begin showcasing stricter order rather than chaos, then the worst behaviors may gradually fade. In that sense, Carnival's stricter rules won't transform the brand into a luxury line, but they could create a more balanced environment where fun doesn't cross the line into mayhem